Are we on air? Yep. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, this is week 2, and the topic is human actions in the past. Have they done much? Let's think about human action. You're an Australian, yes? Do you realise you're really stuffing up this planet big time? Yep. And you're probably stuffing it up too, big time. And you all are. You all know that, I think, don't you? That we are one of the most powerful countries in terms of wrecking the planet per capita, per individual. You're making a hell of a mess of this planet. And later on, you'll be getting into programs like your carbon footprint, where you analyse your life and you find out how much carbon you as an individual are putting way up there. It's heaps, more than any other country bar 1 or 2. We're big time. Okay, now, most of you would think you're not acting, you're just going along with the group. No, you are acting. You are already acting in a pretty bad way if we were thinking of the future. So even inaction is action, but it's not good action. What we're going to think about today is action of humans right throughout recorded and pre-recorded history, and ask, when did this species act in such a way to mess up the environment? When 200,000 years ago, humans didn't exist, so it didn't matter much. 100,000 years ago, we barely existed. There weren't that many of us, and really we had very little effect on the countryside, very little. The invention of fire, yes, that was almost 600,000 years ago, before humans were born. That really started a little bit of an impact, but there were so few of us, there's a limit to what we could burn down. When did us as a creature start to really impact on this world environment? Anyone hazard a guess? Sorry? Okay, certainly Industrial Revolution, we skyrocketed in our activity. Anyone else before then?
The Aztecs.
Sorry?
The Aztecs were sort of...
Okay, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayas, yep, they also had a pretty big impact. Who else can you think of that made an impact in such a way that their civilization couldn't survive? The Romans? Yep. They sort of got away with it because fortunately the barbarians took over and hit them on the head and they could no longer do what they were doing. I'm exaggerating. But they certainly stuffed up a lot of countries in the Mediterranean, turned it into desert. They didn't think they were doing it, and they didn't mean to. Anyone else? Sorry? The Greeks? Yep. Now, there weren't many Greeks around. You know, when you hear about Greek history, gee, they were a tiny country. But on particular islands in the Mediterranean, they wrecked them. Very largely because of the goats they brought in. The goats just wiped out the island. And some of those islands look like desert, even, and that's really a man-made thing. Easter Island, remember that story? Fascinating. A very viable community suddenly bred too much, we don't know, suddenly cut down too many trees, and suddenly that civilization collapsed totally, or almost totally. And so what you find in the past, in the world, although there weren't that many people in pre-industrial revolution, you could always get little groups overburdening the countryside around about them, taking up too much resources, using too much water, irrigating too much or whatever, and in a locale that could be quite large, destroying that area. But a little area there, little area there, little area there, didn't really matter. That civilization claps out, another one will start off. So it doesn't really matter globally. It's only since the Industrial Revolution, as you point out, that we've got the capability of having such a much more powerful effect, enormously powerful effect, and we're grabbing all those bits of fossil fuels with all their carbon, chucking them up into the atmosphere, and we're breeding like flies, our population's going up, and we are consuming more per capita than any other time in recorded history. It's phenomenal amounts. Even poor countries are consuming a lot more than they ever did before. Put those two things together and you start to get us influencing the environment by our actions and therefore affecting our future generations because they're going to inherit a pretty funny environment. So today we're talking about action. And today we want you to think about what bits of human action that we're indulging in now do you think are the most important in terms of mucking up the environment. In later weeks, we'll turn around and start looking for good actions of what we might want to do. Anyway, that's a background story. And what I wanted to do is, if I can, quickly show you, if I can, notes, resources, and activities. What I just said is not necessarily agreed to by everyone. So we're giving you 4 resources. That Matt Ridley, he's really interesting. Very much a publicist, very bright. He takes the opposite view. He claims that we're very intelligent, and no matter how many troubles we cause, we have enough intelligence to change it around. Further, he claims that haven't done too much damage anyway, and we shouldn't get too concerned. We're bright. We'll sort ourselves out. Now, he points out that despite increasing pressures, despite us, if you like, causing climate change and everything else, most humans on this planet are living a hell of a lot better than they ever did in the past. Even poor countries, their longevity has gone up, their child death rates have gone down, their educational levels have gone up. So he claims that everything is getting better and it will always get better. Now, a good thing to watch. You may or may not agree with him. I agree with lots of what he says. I have severe doubts about other things. It's interesting. I shouldn't really say this, but he now actually is pro-coal. He's getting money from coal industries, etc. So I've got a funny feeling he's getting tainted. Anyway, that's for you to judge. Next one is Humans Change the World, and that's a really good one. That's from the Smithsonian Institute in Washington. Really take a bit of time with that resource. It's quite fascinating. You'll learn a lot, giving you a perspective of, at the different ages of humans, what effect did we have leading up to the present. Good background. The third resource is a Wikipedia article, and I always tell people, a lot of people tell you at university, don't look at Wikipedia, it's rubbish. I say that's rubbish to say that. Wikipedia is an excellent source for getting an overview. You don't have to believe it, but it very often, puts ideas into a perspective. And from that, you can then go further. You don't stop at Wikipedia, you go further. But it's a quick summary of what's happening. And then I hope, my favorite, if it's there, this little video I think is absolutely superb if I can make it work. Come on, talk to me. Modern technology. An error occurred. Please try again later. Thank you very much. Have you anyone looked at that video yet? They're not going to hear you.
This is for you though. The students here next week from week 3 onwards, we hope to have you looking at the resources.
Yeah, you should be looking at these resources before you come to this tutorial. Next week's resources and instructions I'll be getting up later on tonight, so you'll have plenty of time to come to the tutorial prepared. That particular video is, I think, fantastic. Very short, very evocative. Who saw it? Okay, do you want to just give it a bit of an idea of what it was? Or did you get much out of it? I mean, what do you mean, yeah? What did you get out? Okay, as an overview introduction, did it stir you? Did it make you feel, gee whiz, I'm so glad that Neville told me to look at it? I'm getting an answer as... Okay. Not a problem. Maybe I'm just warped. But it's all about the world and spinning around and little telegraph lines, all that sort of stuff. What I would say, look at that video and then forget it. But every time you get on an aeroplane, have a look out the window and see what humans have done to the countryside below. Do you fly? Do you get into aeroplanes? And
Oh, yeah, every so often.
all right, you come into Perth,
Yeah.
across Western Australia.
Yeah.
You look out the window, and what do you see?
Big fields marked out in squares.
Big fields marked out in squares, and what else do you see down there?
Roads, buildings, and then
Yeah,
a couple of
yeah. What else do you see? I'm trying to look for something. Anyone else? I mean, anyone know what I'm getting at? Yeah.
heaps of houses.
Heaps of houses? Yeah, heaps of houses. But something else that fascinates me. What about these beautiful round white circles? What are they? White, sorry? What about salt? You come into Perth, going across the countryside, and once you start looking for them, you think, my God, there's a heap of salt out there. A lot of that salt we've caused. And with that, with the cities, with the roads, with even when you come to Perth, look out the window and how many houses got a funny little blue thing out the backyard. Who puts blue things in the backyard and what would they be? Yeah. Do you realise how much energy it takes to keep a pool going? I've said enough. What I'm trying to get you to do is to think about Australia, Australians, our normal actions, and we already are affecting our environment big time. We are acting, not in a very clever way. Ultimately, and you'll hear more about this, we are ushering in the Anthropocene. What's the Anthropocene? Have you heard about it? All right. You've heard that a fundamentally great meteor hit this world about 70 million years ago. Anyone remember that? Oh, sorry, you went around, but have you heard of it? What happened? Species extinction, incredible things happen. A winter of incredible proportion. Species died, everything changed. Some people argue that we are the next meteor. We are already having the impact that that meteor had. So our actions, the Anthropocene, the era where we have caused a fundamental change not only to all of life, but even to the rocks and everything else, the actual rivers, the environment we're having an enormous influence on, or could be, and that is the Anthropocene. You'll hear more about it. Okay, I want to stop at that point, go into your groups, discuss the topic for the day. What do you think we're doing which is probably acting a bad impact on our environment? Happy with that? Okay, go to.